exactly who was transported to the hospital, if it was some of the residents, someone on the ground, or someone that was in the chopper. Again, this happened at 8:45 this morning. This is in the area of Atlantic Boulevard and Dixie Highway. You can see that entire area blocked off. Several crews are there on the scene of a BSO helicopter crash. We do want to mention that BSO is getting ready to give us a news conference, and we of course will take that live when it happens. Yeah, we'll definitely be listening into that to get the latest details. And of course, we don't know at this point another area there may be a scene, maybe one of our nearby hospitals here where these injured folks were taken. I can tell you Broward Health North isn't too far away. That's just up on Sample. Maybe they went to Broward General, but definitely based on the extent of injuries, you know, their top priority is making sure those folks injured get to the hospital. So that may be another angle we're working for you as well, checking in with our hospitals, just get an update on those conditions out there. And we also don't know at this point if there's anyone injured at that scene. You mentioned if pieces of that tail was starting to fall and break off, we may have several areas that may have been impacted by this in some sort of fashion. But of course, the big scene is here, this one, where most of the carnage is this morning. Just incredible. That gaping hole is just, after the BSO chopper came crashing down. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and we continue to follow this story for sure. And we'll be going live on CBS News Miami in just a few minutes, so stay with us.
This is a CBS News Miami special report.
Good morning. We are continuing to follow breaking news out of Pompano Beach. Just incredible images out of Pompano Beach, where a BSO helicopter came crashing down at around 8:45 this morning into an 8-unit apartment complex. There you see a gaping hole right now. We have confirmed from BSO that 2 people were transported to the hospital. 3 people were in that helicopter. We do want to go live with Joan Murray, who is live on the scene right now. Joan, what can you tell us?
Very active scene, Maribel. So take a look. We are at Dixie and Northwest 10th Street. I want to do a scene setter for you exactly where this is all taking place for anybody who knows our area around here in Pompano Beach. So this is 10 blocks north of Atlantic, and next to the air park, the Pompano Air Park, where we believe that chopper took off this morning and then had trouble. As you mentioned, this is an 8-unit building. I did talk to somebody just a short time ago who lived in that building. And what she told me is that she heard a loud crash in the morning. Next thing she knew, somebody was at her door asking her to evacuate. What I can also tell you is I spoke to some family members who say that their relatives live in that building, and they say it is their relatives who were transported to North Broward Medical Center after this happened. So we are told it is 2 gentlemen. At this point, they did not know the condition, but they were told that 2 of their relatives, 2 men, live in that building, that apartment building, small apartment building, again, that is located on, it becomes actually Northeast 10th Street as you go down toward Federal Highway. So again, this is all happening between Federal Highway and Dixie in Pompano Beach, about 10 blocks north of Atlantic, where this chopper went down just now. It's a little more than an hour ago. We're not sure exactly what caused it. I was talking to one of the BSO PIOs a short time ago. They say they're still trying to piece it together. 3 people were in that chopper. We're not sure about the condition of the 3 people in that chopper, where they were headed, why they had taken off. All we can tell you is, according to witnesses here at the scene, is that somehow that chopper might have been experiencing some trouble. Some witnesses told me that they heard a sputter, and then the next thing they heard was a loud crash. But at this point, it is undetermined, or they're not saying exactly what may have caused that chopper to have trouble and cause it to go down, crashing into that home. Again, that is on Northeast 10th Street, a very busy neighborhood. There are some schools in this neighborhood. Again, it is across from the airport. Maribel?
Hey, Joan, Austin here. We want to ask you, what sense are you getting from the folks who live in that neighborhood out there this morning? We've seen from the social media videos, you could see that plane, or that helicopter rather, clear in the sky with that black trail of smoke behind it. What are folks telling you? Did a lot of folks see this? Did they see where it landed? What's the sense like there in the neighborhood?
Well, again, it seems like it was all of a sudden, and full disclosure, I only live probably a half a mile from where this happened. I did not hear anything this morning. I was home, so it wasn't like I heard anything. I did see the smoke once I got out of my house, so that plume was billowing up pretty high. So, again, even the woman who told me that she lives in that building a couple of units away from where actually it went in, she said that she heard a crash, but she didn't even think it had happened in her building. She thought it had happened in the street or somewhere around there. Again, they are across from the airport, so that's a very busy airport with a lot of private planes. Of course, BSO rescue helicopters. You have other helicopters that take off from there. You have private planes taking off from there. But again, so everybody seems like, at least in the neighborhood, once they realized what happened, there was people who live in that area. Again, that is a very busy neighborhood. There are blocks and blocks of houses and apartment buildings, low apartment buildings. So people jumped into action to try to go in and try to help the people who were in that building. And again, the best that I can tell you is, according to witnesses on the scene who say they had relatives who lived in that unit where the chopper actually made impact, they say that their two relatives were rescued and are at the hospital. We do not yet know the condition of the three people on board the chopper. Austin.
All right, Joan, thank you. Yeah, we're taking the live look right now. Chopper 4 over the scene. We know it's 8 units. There are several vehicles parked outside, so we don't know exactly how many people were in the units. Take us back to that relative and the witness that you spoke with, exactly as to what they heard, because we are seeing video on social media of this chopper just spiraling, spinning and spinning. You see all this black smoke. Tell us exactly what they told you they heard at that time.
Toward the other end of those units, and she said she heard what she thought was an explosion, but again, she did not know that it actually, what had happened in her building, at a corner of her building. So she had thought maybe it was a car crash or something else in the street, something nearby off a 10th. And then she said she came out when somebody knocked on her door and she was evacuated. She said that's when she saw the smoke and realized what had happened. So again, people are just in shock, as you can imagine, when something like this kind of wake-up call in the morning, people just getting up, maybe people had just dropped their kids off to school. This is just a few blocks from Pompano Middle School, also a few blocks from Pompano Beach High School and Pompano Beach Elementary, so a lot of nervous people.
And Joan, you know, what's kind of concerning to me is we've been telling folks here all morning long as we're getting those new details. We know from BSO 2 people were taken to a nearby hospital, but we understand from the FAA 3 people were on board that flight, and those relatives are telling you it was their loved ones who lived inside of that building that were taken to the hospital. So we're trying to get some answers about the folks who were on board that helicopter. Do they have any idea about the souls, the folks who were aboard that BSO helicopter when it came down right now? Are you getting any sort of answers there at the scene?
No, and again, just to qualify, none of this is coming from Broward Sheriff's Office. The little bit we are able to piece together are just from witnesses, people who live in the area. One person did tell me, but it is not confirmed, that 2 of the people in the chopper actually jumped out. So I don't have any confirmation on that. Again, I just spoke to BSO here on scene, and they are not confirming the condition or who was on that chopper, only that it was 3 people on board.
Joan, I want to ask you, do we have any idea exactly where the chopper was going? Do we know they were heading out to a scene? Do we know they were training?
You know, that is a very good question. As we understand, BSO does park their emergency helicopters here at the air park, as I was describing. It is an air park full of some emergency I guess you'd say choppers. About a lot of private planes leave out of here. Also, I should have mentioned this before, but this is also home of the Goodyear blimp, which is on let me see, it would be on the northwest corner of this. It's a huge air park. Even on one end, there's even actually some stables where people keep horses. Very big. And then on the other side of that air park is a golf course, very busy golf course, the Pompano Beach City Golf Course. So, and then right across the street. So the air park sits in between 10th and Copans Road. It goes all the way around. There's a shopping center to the north. To the south is this neighborhood, and then if you keep going south, you hit Atlantic Boulevard. So again, you know, having lived in the area for decades, there haven't been that many incidents involving the air park. It is a bit unusual. The other thing I should mention, there was a new firehouse built just a few years ago, so they were able to get to the scene very quickly. I mean, that new Pompano Beach Fire Rescue Station is literally just probably about 5 blocks away on 10th Street. So again, still a lot we're piecing together, and we do not have any confirmation. As I said, the best I can tell you, the people we spoke to in terms of the people who were inside that building, they were pretty confident that it was their loved ones who were transported to North Broward, and that they actually went there soon after we spoke to them.
And Joan, you mentioned this is your neck of the woods here. You know this area pretty well. We did learn from BSO that they're telling folks to stay away from Dixie and Atlantic right now because there is such a large presence of investigators, BSO, fire rescue, all that stuff is out there right now. Are you getting a sense that this is just an area for folks really to even farther away from that intersection? How big is that police presence and that fire rescue presence in that neighborhood this morning?
Very big. So Dixie is cut off south of Copans Road and north of Atlantic a few blocks. I'm going to say that if you have to go in the area, don't plan that you're going to be able to go down Dixie at any time soon. And also 10th Street. Again, they are diverting traffic. I came up Federal and went west to Dixie, and I made my way, but I can't be sure that that's not shut down now, the roads that are east of Dixie. But I can tell you that right now, Dixie, north of Atlantic, all the way up to Copans, that is completely shut down. And you can make your way west of Dixie. So if you had to travel in the area, my recommendation is make your way northwest of Dixie. Those roads are still open. You can go from Atlantic, taking northwest, one of the northwest streets that lead out to Copans Road. So, but this is such a major scene right now. Again, there's still smoke coming from the building. It's going to be an all-day event, if not beyond. You know, it's just so fresh. It just happened literally, you know, just a short time ago. Yeah,
it really is incredible. This happened at around 8:45 this morning, as you mentioned, a very, very busy area. Joan, question. So Chopper 4 is over the scene of that 8-unit apartment complex, but do we know if there's a second or third scene in the area? Because we did see from some of the video that part of the tilt seemed like it had snapped off. Do we know if they're at another scene as well, or is this the main one?
As far as I know, this is the main one that it went down. Again, that was a pretty big building, and as far as I know that crashed. Now, I can't tell you that if some debris flew. I'm not really sure. Again, I can just tell you, speaking from experience on that Dixie, or rather 10th Street, where this went down, there is some space. The lots are pretty big there. There is some space between the. It's just starting to rain here now too. There is some space between the units. You know, there is a little bit of distance between where that multiplex is located and the other houses. I haven't heard of a second scene, no, at least here on scene.
All right, Joan.
And this one scene, though, is quite the scene, Joan. From Chopper 4, we can just see how bad that impact was. I mean, most of the inside of this home there is just charred, and it looks like what it is. It's hard to see, hard to make out exactly what happened. Joan, I know this was in your area this morning. Did you see the smoke at all? We haven't seen too much of the impact after that helicopter went down. We saw it spinning in the air, but we haven't seen too many videos yet of any of the flames in the area. The aftermath. Do you have any idea of how intense the fire was and the actual crash impact was?
I didn't see any flames. I did see smoke going up above. This is fairly, there aren't a lot of high rises, really not much in the way, you know, I'm talking about this section of Pompano, you know, maybe buildings are 6, 8 stories high. So I could see some of the smoke coming up near the airport, near the airport. And so, but I did not see any flames. And in fact, I came down 10th Street, heading over here to the scene. Initially, as you may know, I think they were saying that this crash had happened closer to Atlantic, but actually it is 10 blocks north of Atlantic in the neighborhood. Like, as I keep mentioning, not to be a broken record, but it is directly across from the Pompano Beach Airport.
And Joan, can you give us some perspective? We're getting live pictures right now from the ground. There are several units there, as you mentioned. mentioned you did speak with several witnesses and residents. Have you seen or have you been able to speak with the family members of some of the residents who may live in that building that are just getting there to check on their loved ones? Have you been able to see or speak with them?
Again, the people that I spoke with were the relatives. Say they were the relatives of the people who lived inside. Now, again, just to have a scene setter so you understand where we are, mostly all the media and everyone, we are west of Dixie, west of the. By the way, I'm sure. I'm sorry. Brightline trains are stalled now because the railroad tracks are right there, and I don't know whether they're allowing the trains to go through. But I have not seen anybody coming on this side. It is possible they are on that other side, which would be east of Dixie and that neighborhood around there. If people have managed to get down Federal Highway and make their way into that neighborhood where this is all going on. Again, the people that I spoke with, they said it was a relative who lived in there, and they actually came from Boynton Beach. They got a call.
Oh, wow.
Boynton Beach, which is at least 20 miles from here north, and they rushed down. And then, as I said, were going to make their way to the hospital to see if they could get information. They did not have any information. They were getting a call from neighbors who told them that their loved ones had been transported to the hospital. Again, they say that they lived in that unit where the crash happened, but they did manage to get out and taken to the hospital. And again, we still do not have any confirmation on the condition of the chopper occupants.
Right, and we're still trying to get all those answers right now. Joan, you just mentioned Brightline. In fact, from the chopper force shot we were seeing earlier, I did see a train rolling slowly by that area, and if there is an impact there, we already know the roads are pretty tied up in that area and blocked off. So we're also now going to try and find out if that railroad commute for folks on Brightline is being impacted by any of this as well. That did happen close to the tracks. We do have a map to kind of give you some perspective. Of course, Joan's giving you a good lay of the land of where this has all happened and some perspective there in Pompano Beach, if you know that area. So we can show that here, Northeast 10th Street at First Avenue there in Pompano Beach. Joan has been mentioning the air park. You can see it there on the map, just on that east side of Dixie. So a lot of private planes there. Joan mentioned also the Goodyear blimp over there. So this is definitely going to be impacting that drive east of I-95, a little, and as Joan said, 10 blocks north of Atlantic. So anywhere north of that area around the air park, you'll want to stay away from that area. And now we know Brightline may be affected too.
Yeah, for sure. A very busy area indeed. So for our viewers that are just joining us, we've been following this story. This is breaking news since it happened at 8:45 this morning. A BSO chopper crash landed into an 8-unit apartment complex. We do know that 2 people were transported to the hospital. This is according to a BSO, and according to the FAA, 3 people were on board that chopper. BSO is getting ready to give us a news conference. We, of course, will bring that live to you as soon as it happens. Yes, Joan. Yep, Joan is live on the scene right now. This is very close to the Brightline train. Joan, can you just give us a recap as to what's going on for the viewers that are just joining us this morning? Tell exactly where you are and what's happening.
Sure, there's a very active scene right now. We are on Dixie Highway and 10th, where it becomes Northeast 10th, changing into Northwest 10th. But this is on the east side of Dixie Highway. We weren't sure whether the Brightline trains were going to be impacted because this happened just a few blocks east of where this train is about to come through right now. So good news for commuters anyway, that the Brightline trains are moving very slowly at this point, but they are coming through. Again, this is Dixie Highway and 10th in Pompano Beach, 10 blocks north of Atlantic. From what we understand from the Broward Sheriff's Office, just before 9 o'clock this morning, one of their emergency choppers took off from the Pompano Beach Air Park and obviously experienced some type of problem. Witnesses tell me that they heard a sputtering and that chopper went down and crashed into an 8-unit apartment building that is on 10th Street, and it is directly across from the Pompano Beach Air Park. As we understand it, 2 people in the unit where that chopper crashed were rescued. They went to North Broward Medical Center. We do not know their condition. We spoke to some relatives of those 2 people who said they had confirmation from neighbors that their relatives were indeed in that unit and that they had been taken to the hospital. They did not know their condition. As for who was on the chopper, we have confirmed there were 3 people on the chopper. We do not have any confirmation on the condition of the 3 people on the chopper. Anecdotally, there was one witness on scene, but again, this is not confirmed that she saw 2 people jump out of the helicopter. But again, we do not have confirmation on exactly who was on it and what their condition is at this hour. This is going to be tied up all day, as we've been talking about. Just a very active scene, and when you consider that it only happened really under 2 hours ago now. Dixie Highway is shut from north of Atlantic and south of Copans Road. So if you have business in this area, I would say try to make your way down to Federal Highway. I believe that is still open in the area, or west, the roads that run the northwest avenues west of Dixie appear to be open at this point, but a good portion of Dixie. The trains are moving, as you say. Now here comes the northbound Brightline train
Joan,
moving through the area.
Joan, just let me stop you for a second, and I'm sorry, we're just getting some video from Instagram, just incredible images of when that plane came crashing down. You can see huge flames just pouring out of that building, black smoke. This is just moments after this happened, a viewer taking these images and putting it on Instagram right there. Just incredible, the amount of smoke and flames shooting out of that building.
On when this helicopter took off, who knows if it had a full tank, and that also led to the
that
explosion.
Also contributes, exactly.
Yeah, so it's just a very tough scene there. And Joan, in your experience here, we've seen these BSO helicopters before. Usually they're over crime scenes. Sometimes they're following a police chase if they happen. This was one tied with the fire rescue unit at BSO. Could you give us kind of a little idea of what those helicopters are sometimes used for?
I do not know whether they were on their way to some emergency, and in fact, I still have to get confirmation on exactly what they could have been heading to. Broward County Sheriff's Office has a huge presence here, of course, in Pompano Beach. There is a substation, a major substation that is located just off of Dixie Highway south of here. So they have a huge presence in this area. Now, if you can take a live picture, you see right now that one of the Broward County Sheriff RVs, one of their big forensic units, is making its way in. So they have a pretty well-oiled machine in terms of how quickly they're able to respond, Broward Sheriff's Office, and to this kind of disaster. The fact that they're getting in there already with one of their major RVs. But I hope to get more confirmation on exactly where this chopper was headed to. I don't know whether it was training mission or they were actually on their way to an actual emergency. I still have to confirm that.
And there's still so many questions, unanswered at this point, And
a little bit of a dilemma out there now, Joan. We see it's raining a little bit. That's putting a damper clearly on the crews who are out there trying to investigate this. And Maribel, you just saw in the video from Chopper, it looks like it was still smoldering. So it looks like they knocked down most of the smoke. The flames were gone, but it looks like it may still be smoldering at times. So
crews will be out there definitely for quite some time. And again, we've been seeing these images on social media all morning long since this happened at 8:45. These are just incredible images. We're seeing them, this video for the first time of a viewer who captured the images when that chopper came down. Just look at the intensity of the flames shooting out of that apartment. This is an 8-unit apartment building. This happened around 8:45 this morning. We did confirm from Joan, who's live at the scene right now. She did speak with a family member of 2 men who live in that unit, and we don't know exactly what unit they lived in. We don't know exactly if anyone was in the unit where the chopper came down. We don't know exactly how many units it destroyed, but according to Joan, one of the family members said that 2 men who live in that unit, they are their family members, were transported to the hospital. We don't know exactly the condition of the people who were on board that BSO emergency chopper. We did confirm that from FAA that 3 people were on board. 2 people were transported to Broward Health North in Deerfield Beach. These are pre-recorded video from Chopper 4. Our chopper had to go back to refuel. They've been been out there for quite some time. But this is what the scene looks like, and this is live images right now out of Broward Health North in Deerfield Beach. This is video. You see several BSO officials out there.
Yeah, and we just don't know their condition at this point here. The severity of their injuries not known. We're just, getting preliminary information that honestly BSO is just getting for themselves. So we're just learning again that those two people are there at that hospital. So you're going to see a large fire rescue presence there. Not only there, but also BSO deputies may be there as well if they can ask some questions or try to speak with some folks in that area. But when you see the video of the intensity of the flames and the smoke side by side with the impact, you understand the severity of that impact. You've got that fire that really can just burn through walls, can pretty much burn through anything, burned right through the roof as well. So it's just an intense scene there that we're working to get some more answers there for you this morning.
And Austin, you made a good comment just a few minutes ago. We don't know exactly where the chopper, where it was heading, where it was, if it was coming back to the, what's the name of the air park, the Pompano Beach Air Park. We don't know if it was leaving from there or coming back. And as you mentioned, if it was leaving, they could have had a fuel tank, full tank. So that just made it so much worse for that. So just take a look at this gaping hole in that building. Again, if you're just joining us, good morning. We are following breaking news of a BSO helicopter crash in Pompano Beach. This is at Northeast 10th Street and 1st Avenue. We have been able to confirm that 2 people, according to BSO, were transported to the hospital. According to the FAA, 3 people were on board that chopper that came crashing down at around 8:45 this morning. We do have a video on social media, from social media, of one of the viewers who took video of that plane when it was sputtering and spiraling out of control. There you see it. Again, as you can see, blue skies, and it appears that it may have obviously had some mechanical issues, according to our very own Joan Murray, who is there live on the scene. If you're still with us, Joan?
All right, we'll try to get...
I'm sorry, I was just speaking to somebody. Go ahead.
Joan, just
speaking to somebody.
Yeah, we just want to check back in with you right now to see if anything has changed, if you've been able to get some updated information. We do know that BSO is getting ready for a news conference. Do you know what's going on with that and who will be speaking?
I do not know. I did run into one of the PIOs a short time ago, and I believe it's going to be here. All the media is stationed again just across from the railroad tracks on 10th Street. Hopefully we're going to get a little bit more. I see some investigators walking now towards us. I'll keep you posted, and of course we'll take that live as soon as they get here. But this seems to be the staging area, again, just west of the railroad tracks off of Dixie. This is all happening just about 6 blocks east of us on 10th Street. So I think they're still gathering information too. Again, there's a lot of question about who was on that chopper, what their condition is. We did get confirmation on the 2 people that were in the building. Now, whether anybody else in that building was hurt, I don't know. I can't tell you at this point. All we know is that confirmation of the 2 people that were transported, but we do not know the condition or who was on board that BSO aircraft.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of entities also investigating this crash. You have BSO, you have FAA. They're still gathering a whole lot of information. This investigation just getting started. This happened at around 8:45 this morning, just 2 hours ago. So still a lot of questions that need to be answered before they can actually come on and speak with the media about exactly what happened.
That's right. And we also know at this point the NTSB is also involved in this investigation. Of course, they kind of come in that final stage whenever we have any incidents involving any entity of transportation, airplanes, trains, even big rigs sometimes as well. So they're going to be involved in this as well to figure out exactly what led up to this. But as Maribel mentioned there, clear skies. I mean, you probably couldn't ask for a better morning out there in the skies. Clearly something was wrong with that helicopter, and you could see they were pretty much racing across the sky. Maybe they were trying to get back to that air park and land. They likely knew something was wrong. Unfortunately, though, they weren't able to make that happen.
Yeah, just these images are just incredible. And also, if we can go back, viewers, there you see these are live pictures from the ground. As you can see, the Brightline train very close by there on Dixie Highway. That has not been interrupted. Austin? bright line is not being interrupted at this point because of it. We have seen the bright line making its way through that area. But if you do live there, if you need to get around that area, best advice, avoid it because this is going to be closed for quite some time. A very large investigation happening right now after a BSO helicopter crashed into an 8-unit apartment complex. There you see, this is a video that we were able to find on social media of that plane just seconds before it came down. You can see it spewing some black smoke, and then it starts just spiraling out of control. You see part of that tail, which we're about to see, it sort of like snaps. And then you see the helicopter just come crash landing. We have chosen to stop it before it does happen, but we also have video from the ground of just seconds after it happened, a viewer taking video of the intense flames. Look at that, the intense flames and smoke just spewing out of that building. And
we've been talking all morning about how, you know, this really isn't a remote area, Broward County, by any stretch. You know, this is a little bit east there of 95. Of course, your major artery through that area going to be Dixie Highway, where the Bright Line tracks are. So certainly a scary sight there, and we've seen that this clearly was a residential area. We also know several schools were nearby. Joan has been mentioning Pompano Beach High, the middle, the elementary school, Ely High School as well. So this is just a frightening scene, especially to play out in a neighborhood here in South Florida. We're also getting more video here into the newsroom. We're working to get some of that for you. We're getting some new video. I'm hoping we can get this in here soon, possibly showing some survivors in the area. We're trying to get that here for you, so once we get it, we'll let you know.
And our Joan Murray is there live on the scene. She is very familiar with this area, Joan. As you mentioned, full disclosure, you do live very near that area, but you said you didn't really hear anything. Joan?
No, I didn't hear anything. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? So,
yes, we hear you.
Yeah, no, I live within a mile of the crash. I didn't hear anything. We frequently do hear things, you know, because again, it travels, like the echoes travel. I hear, you know, the trains going by even, so, you know, at night. So, but I did not hear anything, and, you know, which I find kind of, you know, amazing. But anyway, and I did see some smoke billowing up as I made my way to Federal Highway and toward Dixie where this happened. At this point, again, if we can take a live picture, you can see some of the investigators right now. They're walking out of where the scene is, about 6 blocks from Dixie, east of Dixie. Again, this is happening between Dixie and Federal Highway, a neighborhood that is just, you'd say, south of the airport. The airport, very busy. They do flying lessons there. There are a number of private planes flying in all the time. You have the blimp base. You have a golf course just located to the east of the airport. It's just a very busy place all the time. There are a lot of warehouses. There are a lot of hangars at that airport. So, you know, you can imagine the disquiet that this causes, all the possibilities, but having lived here a very long time, I can say that it is rare that incidents happen at that airport. Again, we do not know exactly why this chopper had trouble taking off this morning. The witnesses have told me that they heard a sputtering, they heard a sound, and then heard the crash, and saw the smoke coming up. People who, again, I talked to a woman who lived in the building. She said she did hear what sounded like an explosion. She didn't think it was happening in her building. That's an 8-unit complex located on 10th Street. Again, that area, very busy neighborhood behind there, Pompano Beach Elementary. Also, there are a number of daycare centers in that area. As you make your way a little closer to Federal Highway, there's also a big community park in that area. Swings, little kids constantly in that area. There are ball fields. They just built a brand new ball field just a couple of blocks up from where this crash happened. Just, you know, a very busy place. Now, happening 8:45, you know, some of the school traffic had, of course, already dissipated by that hour, but still, you know, a lot of businesses in the area, people out, another thing I should mention, that perimeter around the airport has a bike path where people bike, they rollerblade, they run, they walk. It's a busy exercise area around the airport that goes on for a couple of miles. So, you know, quite a busy area, and you know, for this to happen, it's a little too close for comfort for a lot of people. So, you know, people are in just disbelief, shock at this point. You can imagine seeing that or hearing that and coming out. You know, anybody who lives near an air park, you know, it's the places to say you always wonder and worry about an incident happening. I can't recall anything in that neighborhood. I will tell you that a couple of years back there was a plane that went down just east, but it was more east of where this current incident happened.
Oh, just so, and we're taking a look from not Chopper 4, but we're taking a live look of that scene right now. You can see very, very large investigation. That whole entire area is completely blocked off. Joan, we do want to get to some video that we just got right now of the aftermath. Just a few after it happened, we see that it appears.
Are they coming up from the,
and I apologize. I apologize because we are just seeing these images for the first time. As of you, it seems believed to be the two pilots. Incredible. Take a look at that video of them just walking out of this crash scene where there's huge flames, all the smoke, and they are walking down the ladder of that crash scene.
That is absolutely incredible.
And I had to pause because we hadn't seen this video. We're just seeing it for the first time, and it is unbelievably. This is miraculously that you see the scene, you see the flames, you see the smoke, and you see what is believed to be two of the pilots just walking.
I mean, literally
out of that
emerging from the rubble there. You can still see the thick black smoke behind them there, as well as they're throwing some of their gear down and then coming down this ladder.
And it appears that ladder is maybe one of the residents who had it and came to the rescue. Just incredible video right there.
Oh my gosh. Well, this is certainly some better news out there this morning, because when you see that impact, I mean, the helicopter is unrecognizable. You really can't see anything in there. It's all turned to black. Wow, just incredible to see them just rise up across the roof there. And minimal injuries. I mean, we're not even talking about them just getting out, but they were able to get down that ladder without any help. They did that on their own.
It really is incredible, and that's like the word that I can use, because again, we have not been able to confirm exactly who they are, but it does appear they have, you know, their uniforms on. And can we make out exactly what it says in the back of their?
Looks like it says fire. Yeah, it's hard to make out.
It's hard to make out. However, we do believe it appears to be possibly maybe two of the pilots. We do know that three people have been able, three people, according to the FAA, were on board. We saw two people, as we just saw in that video. And we want to show it again because it's just incredible. After seeing the aftermath and just taking a look, it seems like one of the residents just pulling out a ladder and helping them come out of just that inferno.
And take a look at their uniforms. Even you're not seeing any scuffs really. You're not seeing any marks. So just incredible how that was able to happen. But again, we do know at least we know three people were on board that helicopter. That we're learning from the FAA. We do know that. So still a lot of questions we've got to get answered here as well, including if these two men, you know, were pilots, exactly what their role was, if they were aboard that helicopter, and how they were able to miraculously, literally walk away from this.
It's just unbelievable after seeing that that crash scene and the flames and the intensity of those flames. Again, this happened at around 8:45 this morning. If you're just joining us, good morning. We are following breaking news since 8:45 this morning of a BSO helicopter crash landing into an 8-unit apartment complexes at Northeast 10th Street and 1st Avenue right now. We are just seeing these images for the first time just a few minutes ago from a witness on the scene taking video of what appears to be two of the pilots of that BSO helicopter just walking out of that crash scene, which we're about to show you in just a few minutes if we can pull up that video of just like the inferno, the intensity. Take a look at that building. Look at that gaping hole. Our Joan Murray is on the scene. She is interviewing someone right now, but just a few minutes ago we did speak with her. She told us that she spoke with a relative of two gentlemen who do live in that building, and she was able to confirm from this relative that two men from that unit were transported to the hospital. We know that possibly Broward Health North in Deerfield Beach. We have video from that hospital to several BSO officials there at the scene, as well as fire rescue there as well. These are images of Broward Health North in Deerfield Beach, where we believe that 2 people were transported to after this crash.
And this is really a chaotic scene. You know, we get kind of the preliminary information and then we see the videos on social media. We try to tie this all together, but this is certainly just an ongoing investigation. Hopefully we'll learn more here in just a little bit from those officials with the Broward Sheriff's Office about exactly what happened, because we do have a lot of questions. We know you do at home as well about what happened out there this morning. And from that video, what you can see, it looks like that helicopter here, it just kept flying. But when you see it essentially fall out of the sky, it looks like a portion of that tail started to separate from the cab and the rest of that helicopter. Essentially, the pilots inside losing control at that point. You could see it just kept spinning and spinning and spinning. So seeing this video now, after witnessing the constant videos of the flames and the smoke, seeing that gaping hole and seeing the debris and damage, it's miraculous. You know, you just want to see it over and over, that it gives a, you know, a little bit of a positive light here during all of this. But you're seeing that here again, crawling hands and knees to get over to that ladder that, as Maribel mentioned, possibly a neighbor in that area threw up against the roof
and just helping them get out, because it appears that first responders hadn't even arrived after this helicopter crashed. Again, so we do know that it is a BSO helicopter. We're gathering information right now about the actual chopper. We'll bring it to you in just a few minutes right now. So again, Austin, you've been following the story since we've been following the story since 8:45 this morning when this happened. To put into perspective for the viewers who are just joining us, tell us exactly where this is. This is a very busy area. Yeah, that's right. And this is going to be east of I-95, close to areas near Dixie Highway and several blocks north of Atlantic. That's kind of the general vicinity in the area here, but there definitely are a couple of landmarks that you'll know to give you a little bit of a better perspective. Just on the east side of Dixie Highway, there is that air park. That's where the Goodyear blimp is. They have a pretty big kind of a garage and hangar that it sits in. So you know that area if you've been through Pompano Beach. And also, this is where the Brightline tracks are. You heard the horn several times. The trains are rolling a bit slow out there this morning. So again, it is pretty populated in that area. Several schools, Pompano Beach High, Elementary, Middle, Ely High School, and several neighborhoods as well, including this building, what appears to be that apartment building where that helicopter inevitably came down on there. So just an incredible sight there. And again, seeing the possible pilots here walking out is truly incredible. I can also tell you, I've been watching some of our flight software that we have. We have a flight radar where we can kind of see, because I wanted to try and get a perspective of where this helicopter came from. Where was it flying to right now? That's another one of the questions we had. Was it traveling back to the Pompano airstrip? Was it leaving the area? Where was it going? It's not popping up on the map. I'm imagining that's because it crashed. Maybe that data doesn't report back to the radar. So we're trying to get some of those answers here for you right now. But again, we don't know where that BSO fire rescue helicopter was traveling to, if it was responding to a scene, or if it was part of some sort of training mission. But hopefully, once we get some of those answers from BSO, we'll be able to find that out. And again, so if you do live in that area, you see it is a very, very active scene. A lot of areas blocked off right now. So you may want to stay away from the area. So again, these are images. Are these live pictures, Kathy? These are live pictures right now. Somebody there on the stretcher from that scene right now. They're being cared for and possibly being transported right now. So again, this happened at 8:45 this morning, a BSO helicopter crash, and I can't tell you, BSO is getting ready to give us an update as to exactly what happened. They're gathering all this information. This happened a little over 2 hours ago, so there's still lots of unanswered questions, lots of different departments that are following this investigation. So we do want to toss things over back to Joan Murray, who's there live on the scene, has been there for quite some time. Joan, do you have an update for us?
Yeah, so you see that gentleman being loaded into the Pompano Beach Fire Rescue vehicle, and then in front you see the lady with the wheelchair. So I believe that is her roommate. She is the woman I spoke to earlier who lived in that building I was telling you about, that she heard the explosion and came out. She had mentioned to us that she didn't know what happened to her roommate, she said, who was in a wheelchair, and so that gentleman might have been near the scene. I'm going to try to see if I can get Miss. I was trying to get her attention to bring her over, and maybe she could update us, but I believe that is her roommate, and so she didn't know what had happened to him, so maybe good news that he made it out, but he probably was around the scene there, and maybe he was experiencing some distress. It is, of course, very humid out here, quite hot, and even the shock of living through that, coming out. We have not been able to get to the actual perimeter that's around where the actual crash happened, since we are on the other side of Dixie. That is on the east side of Dixie. I heard Austin talking about the area, and again, yes, we can't emphasize enough that this is between Copans and Atlantic, Dixie, and the area east of that. So if you have anything to get to in that area, it's going to be a slow go, because much of the traffic is shut down in this immediate area while they continue to try to stabilize the scene and also check on everybody who might have been in there, anybody else. As you see, here we are over 2 hours later, and they're still transporting people who were somehow affected by this disaster that happened this morning.
And I think what makes this even scarier is, this happened at a busy part of the morning here, right around 8:45 this morning here. So imagine folks were home at the time, possibly themselves getting ready for work or getting their kids ready to get to school. So that's what was the reality here. And you could see from the damage and the carnage and the impact that this had on this single-story apartment building here in the Pompano Beach area, a little bit west there of Dixie Highway. So, Joan, you've been staying out there at that scene. There's a lot of crews out there. Any sign, any chance that things are going to be reopening in that area? Imaginably, they're going to want to stay there and investigate this for quite some time.
Yeah, I think at least for a good part of the day, maybe into the evening, they might reopen some of the roads around here. But since that is such a concentrated scene, we did see the emergency RV, one of the BSO forensic units, going in. So, they do manage to get to these things. BSO has a huge presence here in Pompano. And so, of course, the investigation is already, of course, we're going to be waiting for the federal officials to arrive on scene here, too. But again, it's going to be a while because of the area where this happened. If you have any business at the air park, of course, you can forget that for the time being, because 10th Street is pretty much closed, which is your access to the air park. I'm sure the golf course is closed. I'm sure the park around there is closed. People mainly impacted will be anybody who's trying to make their way down Dixie Highway between Atlantic and Copans. I believe Federal Highway is open, but if you're coming from 95, I'm not sure that you can get through on Atlantic. And I think your best bet at this point is probably Copans Road. If you need to make your way east-west, if you're going to be coming down 95, I'd say that would be probably a safer bet, or get off Cypress Creek Road before Atlantic if you need to make your way toward Federal Highway. Again, there's a lot of canals in the area. A lot of the roads are, they're not all through streets, so sometimes you got to wind your way around to be able to get here. Austin, I know you were talking about the schools. Now, I can tell you that many of the schools had already started. A lot of them start before 8 o'clock. The elementary school, the high school, the Pompano Beach High School, which is very close by, they start very early in the morning. And the middle school, I think people were still getting in there. That's just a couple of blocks south. So, but a lot of people trying to get to work in the morning. There's a lot of small businesses around here, a lot of grocery stores, and then, or if you work at the air park or at the mall, there's a mall just north of the air park, people trying to get to work there. So it was a busy morning, as you can imagine, on a Monday.
Joan, thank you. Stick around now for a minute, because I'm just told from our producer that we're getting the video of when it appears, we believe it's two of the pilots from that chopper just came crawling out of that home down a ladder, and we do have it with full audio, but we also had to bleep out some of the wording there for you. But we do want to listen in and take a look at that.
Huh? I don't know. Oh. Oh, that's the pilot. Oh.
Damn, he left. What the? in the air.
I didn't see it. I heard it. Yeah. That blew my mind. Because when it came closer, I was like, please don't hit the crib. Yeah. Oh, damn. Yeah. Because usually you hear the planes come close, but that really is. Oh, my God. Yo, this is wild. This is wild. Wow. Damn.
Just incredible video right now. This is in social media of what appears to be two of the helicopter pilots just crawling out and walking down a ladder out of that crash scene, which was just an inferno when this happened. Also, you see some of the residents bringing into action, one of them bringing out a ladder to get them out. And as you mentioned, Austin, take a look at their uniforms.
Yeah,
intact,
just untouched, walking. I mean,
from seeing the video, it's just miraculously that they were able to get out.
And it's one thing to survive, you know, physically, but to see them able-bodied walking away, it's incredible. We do have a picture of the helicopter involved here. We're trying to gather some more details. So here's a look at that. This is an Airbus, a Eurocopter, a specific model number there, but we do know that this is a popular model of this helicopter, specifically used for policing and rescue operations. So think of a Trauma Hawk, something either rushing to, you know, transport someone to a nearby hospital. This does require a 2-person crew. So that's at least the amount of folks that have to be on that helicopter. We do understand from the FAA, in this case, there were 3 people on board that helicopter before it crashed. Now, this helicopter can carry up to 5 passengers in normal cruising speed up in the air, not too slow, 154 miles per hour. That's that normal cruising speed. We're also learning that this type of helicopter is outfitted with a camera just below the nose, and it actually uses 2 different engines for that helicopter. Each have about 650 horsepower, so a pretty powerful engine there to carry this and keep it moving at that cruising speed. So it's definitely used for difficult, challenging rescue missions as well. And this is a pretty familiar helicopter that if you've been in Broward County, you've either seen some of the fire rescue ones or you've seen the sheriff's office ones, you know, over crime scenes and things like that.
Yeah, and according to one of the pilots who actually flew that chopper part-time when it was a charter prior to it being owned by BSO, which was sold to BSO about 10 years ago, the previous owner was Andy Melcoville. He died and he sold it to BSO 10 years ago. This pilot had logged about 150 hours in that chopper, flying lots of celebrities like Bill Gates, pro golfers, racers, and the chief of the Miccosukee tribe. He also said he flew over the Caribbean and Europe. This is according to a pilot that flew that specific chopper.
So this chopper definitely had some miles on it. In fact, 108 accidents dating back to 1998. That's according to Aviation Safety Network for this model of a helicopter there. So we showed you that picture. This is definitely, again, a familiar aircraft you've likely seen in the sky above Broward County that came crashing down earlier this morning, right around 8:45. If you're just joining us here at 11:10, we're following this breaking news out of Pompano Beach this morning, where a BSO fire rescue helicopter came crashing down onto this residential building there. We do know at least 2 people have been taken to Broward Health North as a result of some of their injuries from this crash. We don't know if they were on board, if they were off board, but what we are seeing are the social media videos not only showing the smoke, the flames, but what also may be 2 people who were on board miraculously, not just leaving the scene, but crawling, walking down a ladder there, really unscathed and uninjured.
Yeah, just incredible. This happened at around 8:45 this morning in Austin. We've been following this story since it happened. However, there's still lots of unanswered questions as to exactly what caused this plane to come down. We did see clear blue skies, a perfect day for flying, and we did see right now you're taking a look at a witness getting video of what appears to be 2 of the pilots, again, as you mentioned, crawling out of that 8-unit apartment complex, which is this is in Pompano Beach in Northeast 10th Street and 1st Avenue. We have been able to confirm from the FAA that 3 people were on board that chopper, and you see 2 It appears to be two other pilots just walking down that ladder, walking and crawling out of that inferno. That's an 8-unit apartment complex. There you see some of the residents jumping into action to help. But as you see, they're walking out themselves, just crawling out of the roof of what is left of that apartment complex. Again, this happened at 8:45 this morning. 2 people, according to BSO, were transported to the hospital to Broward Health North in Deerfield Beach. And they have also confirmed that 3 people were on board that chopper, which we're getting updated information. This is a very popular chopper. It was sold to BSO 10 years ago.
That's right. And we've got a great resource on the ground there. Joan Murray, she lives in this area. She knows the area. And we can tell you this is an area you want to stay away from right now. You want to give all these crews enough space to do what they need to do as they investigate this. And if there possibly are more injured people, we know that fire crews are likely going to be staying here on the scene because we're seeing this video from Chopper 4 earlier. But when you have such an intense crash, flames, and a fire, sometimes those hot spots can crop back up again. So you want to stay away from this area again. So I would say south of Copans, a little bit north of Atlantic, that's the area. East of 95, west of Dixie. This is just not an area you want to be in this area this morning. And not only do you just not want to be there so these crews can do what they need to do, but also there's just so many crews there that are shutting down the roads in the area, including Dixie near Atlantic.
Yeah, that's right. You don't want to interfere in the investigation. As you can see, it is very, very large investigation. That whole entire area is blocked off. Now, we do want to toss it over to a witness who our very own Joan Murray interviewed. Let's listen to what she had to say.
Just on top of the roof was all fire, a big ball of fire, that's all. And then, like I said, the second explosion. I ran over there, but then the police started, the first 2 cops that got there pushed us back. And that's when the second explosion exploded. So and we felt the heat. So then that's when we said, okay, we got to go.
Yeah, talk about that ball of fire. I mean, you can see it in all these videos here showing, the flames and that smoke there and the impact of it. It was so intense there. You're not only talking about a huge machine here, capable of speeds of 154 miles per hour, 2 engines, both of them 650 horsepower, come tumbling down, possibly with fuel, when it needs to fly there as well. So you have this huge fire, a lot of smoke and flames just coming down on a stretch of apartments there. These folks just at home waking up, no clue what's happening. And
just incredible really seeing these images. And what's more miraculous to me, and I keep using the word incredible because we see actually what appears to be 2 of the pilots crawling out of that gaping hole.
Yeah, it gives you chills watching it, and we've been covering
it absolutely
this for hours
does
now,
and
seeing that.
And hopefully
those answers here for you.
Yeah, we do, and we still don't know exactly what causes